Today, I'm joined by Reid Bennett, CCIM and commercial real estate advisor, whose thoughtful approach to deal strategy and personal branding has helped him stand out in a competitive industry. We're going to talk about how Reid builds trust, navigates complexity in CRE, and what it takes to build both a brand and a business in our market. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Amy. It's great to see you again.
Yes. So I was like, have we met before?
Yeah, I don't know how many times you've told the story, but I've told it a few times because, look, I get a hangnail and I'm going to cancel going to a conference. You actually had to leave the conference we were at. What was that? 2018?
2019, November.
2019. Okay, 2019. You had to leave to go have your baby, and you hung on as long as you could.
I mean, what happened was I was about 30. I knew I was gonna be, like, 38 weeks when I went, but
Yeah,
every single one of my girlfriends had their babies at, like, 40, 41,
yeah,
42. They all had to be induced, especially your first baby.
yep,
So
yep.
I was just playing the odds, and I was like, "Well, it's an Orlando conference, and I should be good." I think I stayed up, like, way too late the first night. Like, I had to hear Bob Knackle. It
Yeah,
was the first time I met him in person,
yeah, same.
and so, like, I mean, we were going from, like, 7 AM to 11 PM the first day, and then the next day, I was just like, "I have, like, a headache. I
Yeah.
don't feel, like, really good," and they're like, "Yeah, you're in so I went to the hospital, and they're like, "Yeah, you're in pre-labor. It's any day now." 3 days later, my water broke and had the baby, so it didn't
Unbelievable.
happen, like, that day, but yes, I was heading into labor, so
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, if men had to have babies, the species would be extinct. We would have stayed home.
you just did the Puxatawny Phil, did I say that right this
Yep,
time?
yep.
And,
Right.
like, this really cool caricature. Did you do that, like, on Claude or
So
ChatGPT
that's
or
straight chat. So chat used to be, it was pretty decent. And then it kind of, that was the first place that I ever saw images being created. And then it kind of became, you'd have like the eight fingers on the people and
Yes!
right. But now you can upload your headshot and then kind of weave it into a bunch of different things, which is what I've been doing lately. And that one that you saw, that was I literally just took the Puxatawny, actually the Groundhog Day movie, threw that up, threw my image, and just said, make an image and with Woodstock in the background because I grew up in Woodstock, Illinois, which is where they filmed Groundhog Day. So they changed all of the signs around my the little town of Woodstock, Illinois, to Puxatawny, Pennsylvania when I was in high school. So it was kind of one of the biggest things that ever happened in Woodstock. So I just threw that up and it did that. I didn't even adjust that picture at all. Um, and it just gives you a reason to say kind of goofy and interesting things that people are that resonate with. And then the more that I've been throwing that kind of stuff out, the more people start kind of commenting and coming into your other feeds about real things, multifamily
Mhm.
and affordable housing and things that you actually work on. And then it kind of draws attention to those. That's the way I look at it.
So a lot of these guys in my office, they graduate from UF or
Yep.
whatever, and they already have, like, this real estate degree, this finance degree, they have the background and all these different things. I was an English major.
Oh, well, look, but that helps being, in what we do, right? To be able to articulate, the story of the building. So
Yeah.
that's actually a great major to be in to go into commercial real estate. You can get the rest, which is CCIM, SIO, that. So you're sitting there, and that's a lot of people ask me that are in the business, should I go back for my MBA if I don't have the finance background or go CCIM, right?
CCM all day,
100%,
every day.
100%. Because, and the other thing they ask, before I get into brokerage, should I go get my MBA? And my suggestion to that is, I don't even know what it costs nowadays. 50 grand a year to get your MBA, 100 grand a year, maybe
I don't even
$200,000,
I
right?
don't know, I looked at it and it was so obnoxious and,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
So the thing is, and I'm in Chicago, so I was like, do I go to Northwestern to get an MBA or do I go CCIM? And it was an obvious choice because you know, you could still be in the business and be working with the potential of making money. If you're trying to go MBA full time, not to discredit anybody with an MBA, but you're working on theory during that time period. You're outlaying, $100,000, $200,000, and you're not working full time. So it could be a $500,000 flip if you're in the business. You make a deal while you're getting your CCIM, because I only took it when I came to Chicago, and it was fantastic. I still talk with people that I met at CI 101 and 102 and 103 and 104 that came through Chicago. So
Oh,
it's a fantastic platform, and we've won. I can trace it back to 3 specific deals where I went up against brokers that sold more than me, that were probably a better fit, but the seller had a CCIM, and they were like, "Well, it came down to that. You're pretty equal. You have a CCIM. I know what it takes." So, and that's what in commercial real estate, right? Everything we look at, I always say, is it worth going to this conference? Is it worth getting this? Is it worth? And it always comes back to, and you probably say it yourself, if this gets me one deal in 10 years, it's worth it, right? And that's
yeah.
the way we look at everything that we invest in. And it was the same thing with Massimo. I mean, and Massimo's not cheap. And that's what we said. If this puts us in a position to give us one deal, is it worth it?
There was a guy I met and only been to one SAOR yet, but
Okay.
he had a retail deal
Okay.
here in Orlando. Got it done
Okay.
in 27 days. His seller was ready to go, and, like, I'm like, "All right, how quickly?" He's like, "I need you to sell it, like, in 30 days." And I'm like, "This is where you need to list it, da, 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 da. This is how I'm gonna make a bidding war, and da, 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 da." And I just like, psh. The other thing is, like, I'm in ICSC, which is retail. Well, it's like, it's hard to stand out. I'm not trying to compete to get all the listings for Brixmor or these large, like,
Right.
institutional landlords. No, like, can I be a local rep maybe for, like, a tenant that's expanding throughout the United States? But then I can also do great because here I am, like, you could think of as somebody for office.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's in my wheelhouse. I just sling $1 to $5 million deals day in and day out. And
That-
every so often
Hey,
something comes through the
those are
pen.
fantastic. Those are fantastic because, I mean, look, we have those kind of discussions with a lot of the juniors as well in our class, in our office, about, everybody wants to do the sexy 50 plus $70 million deals. Oftentimes you're probably making more on a $5 million transaction than each one of the team members of a $150 million transaction of a class A deal are making.
Probably.
It's not probably, I've seen
Yeah.
it. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
And the thing is I can actually kinda manage those deals because they're complex, but they're not
Yeah.
so crazy complex. But I
Yeah.
can still what's cool with me being with a bigger brand now is I am able to kinda bring some people in on some of the different things. But, yeah, I do those day in and day and there's been times where I think kinda going back to, like, having an abundance mindset, a growth mindset, like, the whole
100%.
purpose of this podcast is, like, I start to kinda get tempted by these, like, shiny things. But, like, my thing every day is, like, I have to, like, stay focused on what I do best and
Yeah.
just, like, rinse, wash, repeat, and, like, keep doing, like, what I'm really good at and keep getting even better,
Yeah.
at it, and that's, like, my thing. My other nickname in my community, sometimes people call me, is the queen of commercial because, like, I'm probably one of
Love
the
it.
most well-known commercial
Love it.
women in the area.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But you bring up a great point, and
Yeah,
within this business, we call it, wallow in the mundane. If you're not able to do that on a day in, day out basis, we've had, people come try to join our team that were way smarter than me, right? Way smarter than me, but they couldn't handle doing the same thing over and over every day and making the call. Like, most of them couldn't handle making the calls. Um, but that was another issue, is kind of just the blocking and tackling that you have to have. You just have to keep going on a day in, day out basis is incredible in this business.